All right.
Yay!
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the thing.
So welcome to Speakeasy, which is sexy tonight. Oh my goodness, it makes me blush. I don't know what to do. Okay, that's about all I was
That's
gonna
about
say.
it. Yeah.
I'll go back over here
Do
now.
you have any other introductions? I don't think we do. Or announcements.
Nope.
Let's get started. First reader is Emily Hopkins. Where she is, right up front. And she's so cool. She doesn't even need an introduction. There you go.
Yes.
I was a bad kid and I didn't pick a walk-up song. So Kumi surprised me with this, which I should have expected this, but you're the one who's controlling it. Okay, sorry. It's okay. So, Michelle, who's also reading, was joking with me last week that like a sex speakeasy with poets is often like an exercise in traumatic sexy business. So like I'm gonna like save the least traumatic sexy poem for the end. So there you go. This first one I wrote last semester. And it actually like rips off a poem from Kamala, who isn't here. But that was like one of the exercises, so sort of sanctioned. It's called Instructional Valentine for Delinquent Boys. Oh, Valentines, do not go out in public dressed like a dull pendulum. Someone will want you for their own oscillation. How boring. Oh, Valentines, you are both peaches and booby traps, both boys and pieces of paper. You require instruction. For starters, use the blue arch of the eyebrows as a mirror. Use the blonde beehive to keep safe your secrets. You mysterious American brats, you boys of flowers and upsweeps. The wolf whistle is a tin can IOU. Keep it under your tongues. And the shape of the heart is delinquent. Remember to model your smile after the spasm it makes. Valentine's, February could teach you about looking at open doors, but not going through. The Queen could teach you about celebrity, eating a handful of dog shit and smiling for the camera. But it's the dog who knows about hunger, listening to his family's chests go thump, swing, thump, shh. Like white noise, you make such a racket trying to puzzle out the pattern. Just shush. Let the other boys sing, paint your sweethearts a mural instead. F-sharps and red dresses, mermaid tails and filthy wanting. Give a lecture on the transvaluation of values, be as elegantly transgressive as self-love, dress like lovely orphans, Parisian criminals. Remember, winter is the sound of a boy's hairspray heart. Thump, swing, thump, shh. And sound is a Bunsen flame turned to high, and the blue at the base is the blue of the heart. Dusted with industrial polymers, but the boy is the product of chance. The box of jacks under a loose floorboard, the polyrhythm of floristry, the shape of sad arms. This next poem is like from forever ago. It's called Antitussive. That there was mulberry juice smeared on our bare asses, a garnet rough-hewn and fist-tight, 8 names for nightshade. That there was the pony's heart crashing between my knees, that her mind went soft when we fucked. I volunteer a few things about the world, that we are pulp in the papermaker's hands, that lust is a pale slip, slabs of oil paint, jasmine curl of a girl's neck. Of opiates, she said, sweat sheen, white bed linen, pipe tobacco, and oak, to be water cupped in your hands. Nipples, loose teeth, salt, and cherry pits find their way under my tongue. Her body, plated with gold leaf keening, finds its way too. I don't ask for the reason her hair is salient. She suckles pure silk and loves me like sharpest blue chicory flash. She doesn't ask for the story of the boy who shoved his dick in my face. The pink urgency winded me. I wept. The room smelled of boiled milk, and he finished himself. My body stiff against the quick rocking of him. It might be coagulation. It might be the metal splinter. For dark feathering around the eyes and mouth, ask for Lemore's elixir. Honey, camphor, flowers of benjamin, licorice, and salt. Ask for citrus, for feral yelping in the undergrowth. Ask to be jolted from wariness, to be cured like rawhide. Okay, so this last poem needs a little bit of an epigraph. It's in response to this artist collective project called the Cam Girls Project, which takes classic pieces of art with women's body and superimposes cut pieces of cam girl, still images from cam girl images over the top of them. And it also includes, you can't see it, they're in italics, it includes dialogue from interviews from teenage girls. Cam Girl Olympia. How it starts out. We see your whole body. We see your pretty face. How it starts out is a guy sees a girl's cleavage, and then he sees her boob, and then he sees her nipple. I know that because he told me. I'm proud to be a girl. We do whatever is so good. How it starts out is Manet sees your mule-slippered feet and then ties you a choker of black ribbon. I know that because your face says, do whatever. And maybe you are trying not to look at the cleft of your black maid's fingers, or noticing the carnelian droplets at her ears match her wet lips. So good. How it starts out, she plumps and piles the pillows for you. She loses her name in the wrinkle of embroidered silk, shiny, round thing, small as a seed pearl. We see your pretty prowess. We see your whole feather down. Manet told you lots of stuff about where to put your hand so he sees your belly and thigh and thinks, what else? What next? Your maid's arms full of rancid bloom. She argues with Manet over which orchid to tuck behind your ear. We see your whole blank expanse. We see your pretty confusion. That's sexy. But maybe now superimpose my hips or crop out your face, add mine on top. Show one part of my body, show one part of the whatever I do so good. The green light of the webcam, the hovering master's brush, thick rivulet of thigh and dark scabbed cheek. We see my pretty body, we see my whole face.
And so do this with the lights so they don't go off on the, on the next person. Y'all know what's going on. Okay. Michelle's here, right? All right. Our next reader is Michelle Lynn. I would like to tell you about her by sharing her list of fears. Too many polka dots in one given space. A lone balloon drifting in a silent room. Deep water. Small things that are not cute fall too fast. Straight white men at bus stops. That's some of you, okay. Toilets that flush too loudly. Falling suddenly and biting off her tongue. Being buried alive. Getting your hands dirty. Like literally, she washes her hands way too often. Suddenly, and with great surprise, pooping herself in public. Pac-Man frogs, shoebill storks, shower drains, driving in Pittsburgh, which is why she does it. Let's bring her up here, Michelle Lynn!
I have mine in the back. Okay. As a heads up, there's gonna be a noticeable tone shift in the middle of the reading, and I want to avoid talking before the poems, so I'm just warning everyone now, and you'll know what happens because it'll be kind of obvious and awkward. I'm just gonna start. Birth of Aphrodite. To wake made of water. The early morning circles, spins dust into an ocean. Everything is edged in blue. To watch last night, a film with your sisters. To do what families do, The Little Mermaid, old push and pull, father-daughter love. To be unable to sleep, curled with grief, moving through rooms, quieting clocks of batteries. From the start, his favorite, absent from receiving shell. He is furious with a tease. To be 9 again, blinking into the eye of his camera. To touch his hand and tick-tock tick, to wake made of water. The early morning circling an ocean. Everything is blue. To be 9 and dancing, his eyes away from sisters. To open blushed mouth to sing, tick-tock tick, you wake, maid. You draw yourself a bath. Watch the water drip. You make it so hot it could peel your skin. Oyster brimming at the lip. You wash your hair, his hands, his lens, your sisters. Rise like a goddess from sea foam. You are the blue, you are the blood, you are made and made and made. My nose is all running, it's a little cold. And I accidentally X'd out of it. Stone. It could be the bead between my fingers as I pinched an earlobe, not the jewel, but it's hollow, the space that takes space. Like what is thrown to me on this bus by this man, no words, but his steady gaze. My hand thumbs my ear fiercely, and I know it won't stop, even with bleeding. I'll keep picking, and when the skin breaks, it'll surprise me, like the first piercing. His hand at my cheek, the bright of blood swing in swift as slingshot, and somewhere a bird is falling, is struck out softly. How quickly I am pointed to as magic, then buried by the boy in the 8th grade who picked me, then pricked me with a safety pin, by the boy in the park who collapsed me with a finger, towel pressed to my shoulder, mirror thrown to my face. I see pain is a wildflower. Look at me on this bus. All the pretty girls lining up with teddy bears tight in their arms. We are birds feathered to the ground, beauty after the fact, after the flight of stone. Just look at this jewel after puncture. It's a miracle how the flesh gives and gives away. I come with only blood on my sleeve. What should we call such witchery? What should we call such weight? In memoriam and memorandum. To know love like yours, seductive shine of my hands after they've been beached. To wait for your rain in the shower before funneling sand into lotion bottles, to blow the dust of me into keyholes as tripwires, to be locked up with you, to pronounce the hitching of your limbs catching in the tumblers of a bed, to taste the nitty-gritty. Mother, your pills undone. Father, split rubber on tongues. To taste the cure that closely, that secondary sedimentary longing. To know, even after steam, the stickiness of your cleanest bodies tugging, the most washed down, still burnt to pheromone. To know love like mother, yes, I will go forth with the killing of the first small child. To know love like, yes, mother, beached with nothing in the pockets, yes. To love my near absence like that. Father, I am the soft shirt pulling, slowly busting toward loss. I am sticking my hands in crevices of still warm seats. I've trapped myself for weeks to arrive in your bed, sans bathing, to be the small biting whispers between silk sheets. I'm in the shower of sparks as you skate toward each other to cut me. I am here to see. Self-portrait as this fucking cold-ass winter. To be such wind, steeped in the mouth, a cut lock of hair. One tendril of breath each time you spit me out. I could be this transparent, transplanted in your vocal cords, and tiny, cool as snow in its endless mimicry. Sick with clouds and sequins, I am shedding all my excesses. I marry this city too in lace, starlings, of course, file away the sky in the sharpness of song. Sing along and see me. Beneath each studded eve are daggers and teeth, jaw ready to sink close to consume. Self-portrait as bleeding heart dove. And then I have one more after that. So. To think I pine for you, staggering from the brush to the windowsill is laughable. Should I suckle from your napkin, the spoon still warm from your mouth? To think I am famished, aflame, poor love with perpetual bleeding heart, born Luzon or light, wounded perhaps in the night, I'll leave you at the sight of gauze or a hand that believes it, gentle. How much more the wound wounds when seen? Do I hurt you? I'll sing the sin upon my breast. I'll set your brush aflame. In the morning, you awake to spit the sap into your bathroom sink. And this is the last one. We are Siamese, if you please. And I wrote this rewatching that part in Lady and the Tramp where they have the Siamese cats come out. And it's like watching it again because I didn't realize when I was young, and I thought about it, I'm like, is that scene racist? And so I went back and looked at it, and it is. So, we are Siamese, if you please. And even if you pucker into no, we'll settle in the fortress of your lap anyway. Use our tails to bookmark your virtues so lovingly. Who doesn't love an arc of a back so beautiful and known, even when moored high against fear? Come, bang your gong. We disassemble into sets, the kink of our limbs arranged in baskets to the fullest. The gift no one can return, too large for your mailbox. We built a place for ourselves here on your straw letters of welcome. Pause on the frame, we're breathing now through your screens. Can't grin like puppies, but our smile spines full of fish bones. Nights, we keep your feet warm, if you please. If you don't, here are teeth and claws, raw, quick of them. Here are waves and boats, so many beasts, a love fever of whiskers, hairless gleam of our maws.
Just realized, Michelle, that your shirt matches your walk-up song, which is pretty snazzy. I don't know how Caleb's shirt is going to match this walk-up song. It's pinkish. It goes. This is Caleb's last speakeasy. It's also his second time reading at a sex-themed speakeasy. He's written here that he puts the easy in speakeasy. He tried to make his boyfriend write this introduction, but Cody didn't say flattering enough things, so Caleb ignored him. For Valentine's Day, Caleb finally got Cody to watch Dowd, and the fact that Caleb wanted to watch Dowd on Valentine's Day says a lot. For Lent, he's giving up posting comments on Facebook. He also has a different answer for what he's giving up for Lent every time you ask him. Here he is, Caleb.
The way that I got Cody to watch Lent was I had to agree to, I have to go with him to Jupiter Uprising, which I'm,
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter ascending. So that's how much I'm looking forward to that. Okay. So my first poem is Goodness Gracious. Do everything you do to me gently. Make my throat fat and full with you and easy. Make me mouth your praises. Please, some graciousness from this trembling. You a gulp, you a gaunt git. Do everything you do to me, so I will miss you tomorrow. You a grant given, a guile, a guilt. Oh goodness, some false spawning. If you leave me low and lowing. Leave me after the gloaming. Oh gracious, oh white carnation bloom in winter. You, the crown incarnate, crowing my insides out. Do everything to me, but gently. This craven gut I cannot gather, jaded until gussy. Give me back my broken gait, my pirouetted wail, and wait a bit. I deserve at least that. The second poem is about doubting Thomas. So he's the apostle who, after Jesus rose again, all the other apostles got to see him, and Thomas didn't see him, and Thomas didn't believe the other apostles when they said that he'd risen. And so then later Jesus came up, they were all in the room together, and Jesus came back again and said, doubting Thomas puts his fingers in Jesus' wounds, know that it's really him, know that it's not some imposter. And afterwards Jesus says, holy are those who see without believing, which I think is the meanest thing that he could have said in that moment. And now the Apostle Thomas is the patron saint of atheism, which I think is really snarky and mean. But on the bright side, later he got to see, he had a vision / he was transported to see Mary's ascension, Jesus' mother, and none of the other apostles believed him, so it's reversed. So he's a little bit of redemption later. Anyway, this poem is called Apostle Thomas at the Glory Hole. The air is heavy with what might as well be the sea, and so my mood is ceremonial, meaning I want to shake the man's hand before I give him anything, meaning I'm again out to disappoint myself. Tomorrow I will bathe 7 men and a child into a river, attractive even in its murk. So today I feel myself like a scourge against every wall I run up against. Lay my palms flat as prayer against the walls and whisper for forgiveness. I was taught a good man would invite me to touch his wounds, would cling me close to his breast and say, what I need right now is your faith. I no longer use my sight when wanting to know a man has come back for me. I no longer trust any man I can see, even though I think all men holy. It is a man's sorest spot which must be touched, must be spread until he gasps with life, his mouth a new kind of wound. If he doesn't bleed, he's been gone too long. Even when he invites you, it should hurt a bit. And this next poem is a Ash Wednesday poem. I didn't actually think of it as an Ash Wednesday poem until it was Ash Wednesday and I was thinking of what I should read. My favorite thing about this poem is it mentions Lent a couple times, but the speaker doesn't understand what Lent is. There's that. It's called Opened Wide. Mine is an ugly tongue. Like all the ocean things kept in darkness for good reason, it has utilities, sure, but I could do without the thrust and the stink of it. We are so propelled, corpus casualties that we are, by such small rudders, such evenings, that I can't see the harvest fish for the fishes, the girders at all. Please forgive my small meanings, I'm sorry. I feel all the teeth in our kisses, and of them I'm proud. To me, they're the exposed bones the dead are made of, so hopelessly verklempt. But my tongue, once I'm dead, will be my pink, wet ghost, inviting worms into my mouth. Last month for Lent, I gave up smiling at old people, unwilling to taunt the indentured crowd, so jealous with what they want. This month for Lent, I'll retire all the service workers. Next month, former smokers will get a free pack. I should say I only know the ashen surface of a month, how it reminds the body, angry of itself, and so I'm only giving up those things I know I won't miss much. I know all that I need, my thin toenails, my colors, my smell, will soon ring in absence like a crowd after Wagner's Siegfried, too nervous to applaud or return to the streets and the new cold air. I love when it's not explained just what certain relevances are, or mean, their reach. Instead, let's think of fear. When I first heard rain as a child and thought of my still living parents' deaths, even then I knew not to spare nor relent. This next poem is a poem that I don't want to read because I'm a bad person in it. And so it's called Posture. My father was the first man to shy himself away from me, and so I learned when not to look. In the shower, we turn our backs to what we don't want to see us fully. When we are uncovered, we turn around. Recently, my dad asked if it's even that bad to be gay anymore. A public shower can feel like a rare place for a man as he steps back into his clothing. The gentleness with which a foot pulls at elastic, towing the hole wider. Also, the quickness. I love what is shown to me when something else is being hidden. The places on a body where water stays out of reach, where underwear clings close to damp. I'm not supposed to watch when men and their vulnerabilities get dressed in public space, and I don't, but you can see a lot without watching. When looking for your locker, when turning around to leave, in this spirit, because of how unwanted another's gaze should be, I made myself joyless to look at. As a child, my father reassured me there were radio hosts who spoke less clearly than I did. A mumble can be fixed with a little concentration. I believed clarity was a matter of effort. His father taught him to suck in his gut to help his posture. And now my stomach muscles stay taut naturally, he said. I don't even have to think about it anymore. I am more aware of what a good thing is when locked out from it. I love the sting of soap and eyes as diversion, and I know how to see through blurred vision. The sting as guilt I wouldn't know what to do without. I have been proud for much of my life about what I could get away with. I want to no longer inhabit my body, but instead to learn what I can do with it. To be an animal and human, Derrida's cat seeing Derrida's sex, but also Derrida. But tomorrow or soon, I'll be worthy of a stare, even in the middle of a street. This is my last poem. Poem for 2015. New year, new body is my early mantra for the year, even though I have no workout or diet goals, even as I eat a bowl of cinnamon toast crunch this morning. New year, new body, I tell my boyfriend as he pulls on a sweater and walks out the door. It is because I find the phrase so hollow that it comforts me. I say it, and a small part of me wonders what if it were that easy. New year, new body, and I'm a man in his mid-30s with nice arms sitting in a coffee shop. I say it, and I'm a woman with short chestnut hair wearing a crop top. New year, new body, I want to say to my doctor at my physical as she asked me to pull down my pants. My body, always the site of my betrayals. I want to tell her this is a fake checkup, that I'm not actually concerned about anything. This is for the government and a job that Cody wants. I don't, though. So thorough and efficient, I give up on trying to get her off topic. I have no travel concerns. I tell her when she asks about China, neglecting the dream I had the night before of my immolation. I don't know if I can call it a stress dream. I watched a video of myself burn in a dream and thought it beautiful. The eye contact I made with the camera, the hair and shirt, my hair and shirt, the only wet, dark things in that landscape. I felt myself go off script, only said, "Don't watch," as they poured accelerant on me. I kept that beautiful eye contact even as they lit me. I felt myself nervous for the start of this performance, nervous as I stood and my shirt fell in flames and tatters as I watched myself begin to dance, the flames thick in my hair. Thank you.
We just don't want the lights to go off on anyone while we're reading. It would be so awkward. Reset. Okay. All right, I have the pleasure of introducing my good friend Molly Bain. She's a teacher, a writer, and a performer. She's written creative nonfiction pieces on autoimmune disorders, the single-cell organism yeast, and systems biology. Bad Whole Foods customers. That wouldn't be y'all. Flying fears. She once accidentally told a fourth grade student of hers that her math and science test was crappy ass. And once accidentally called a college student of hers Magic Mike in front of the entire class. Things to be afraid of. Oil drills, cream-based foods, silk sheets, and roller skating. Her fantasy careers include choreographer for music videos, writing hermit, park ranger, professional driver for fancy sports car commercials. Well, this is good. When she was a little girl, she once ran away from home with only a very important item, her portable Michael Jackson record player and a hobo stick. Let's take a moment to imagine what that looks like. She lasted the better part of the day. These days she's writing one big long love letter to a lady. She's also going to have a dance party soon, and y'all better come. Let's welcome her up here, Molly Bain.
Oh, I love Betty Davis. Does everyone know Betty Davis? This is Betty Davis. She was married to Miles. She has this song called He Was a Big Freak. That's the title of the song. And it's just like, I whipped him with a turquoise chain. And it's just great. And I'd like to imagine that it's Miles Davis that she's talking about, but I don't know what it is. Also, it's so interesting reading with a bunch of poets because it feels, especially going last, it kind of feels like you guys are the cool kids. And the professors, Morgan, Cameron, and Kumi put us into small group work. And I got with the cool kids, but they're all really aloof. And I'm trying to make eye contact and open hearts with them the whole time. They're all like, mm-mm. New body, new bitch face, right? Oh, there's a flower crown. Oh my gosh, I will totally wear a flower. Well, now it's okay. There's so many flower crowns.
I have 3 more.
Michelle has so many flower crowns. And the last time I met at a speakeasy was with Michelle, which I feel like is so wonderful. And I just Caleb, you didn't wear a flower crown. And Cameron gets the other flower crown.
I put it right over my hat.
Yay! Okay, the flower crowns for all. So this piece is totally a work in progress. It's very messy, and I have Rachel, who was my MFA mentor, and Kumi to definitely thank because it was in creative nonfiction workshop that both of their little side comments helped me reimagine this. Which started out as just a little dry research piece, really. So here it is. The working title is True Blood. I was watching David Lynch's Lost Highway when it happened. In the movie, there's a scene/dream sequence, as the two are not distinguishable in a David Lynch movie, where a thin white woman with dyed blonde hair grinds toplessly atop our protagonist in the high beams of a 60s convertible. More than fucking, she's dancing one of those tit-grabbing, hair-flipping, sexy dances that I assure you is not a part of any woman's self-pleasure routine that does not involve a camera. Alice is her name, and she's a fantasy, a mirage, a nightmare, really, of desire. Desire both realized and dashed. She wrecks one's heart in a bomb of blue balls. I want you, our protagonist and possibly villain, repeats a couple of times, I want you. And in the movie's most famous line, Alice, while caressing and clutching his skull with her polished nails the color of quicksilver, responds, you'll never have me. Alice is every man's nightmare. Fucking does not equal possession. There's something almost satisfyingly feminist about this declaration, except that, well, Alice is Alice. She feels less like a woman and more like a woman-shaped series of sexual signifiers, performative platitudes a la Vanna White. She's in charge of the letters, but the meaning's all ours and the joke's on us. She's not just masquerading, she's a masquerade. I was watching the movie with, and in many ways for, a new lover, and in one of these sequences he turned to me and he said, amazing, right? I thought about this for a second. To him, this movie wasn't just a surrealist puzzle. To him, the images stripped of conventional narrative were distilled to deep psychic emotional matter. The realizations sifted down into me as if Glenda the Good Witch had just tinkled upon my head with her unique brand of glimmering golden shower. Thin white women with dyed blonde hair dancing like women who dance to express someone else's desire. This is a symbolic code I can roughly speak, read, and even pantomime when pressed, but fundamentally the code is not mine. I recognize it as a symbolic language of desire, and I feel alienated from it too. Now, I'm someone who has fucked and been fucked by fellow women, but when I dream of desire, it doesn't look like this. It just doesn't. Truth be told, it usually involves a lot of juicy textures, thick fabrics tight on thighs, rather sophisticated hip gyrations, I like to think, and mean-looking boots. And I'm not gonna lie, it involves ass. Still, it would be false to say that I wasn't haunted by the breast-clutching woman. But she doesn't signify desire to me. She signifies a job, a long-standing job, an invisible service economy forced into the lives and onto the bodies of women, and I deeply resent it. I'm haunted by the fact that for so many women in various caring or cocksucking professions, their job is to embody an artifice that reflects someone else's desire. So Alice is a nightmare for me, too, but a different nightmare. A nightmare of mirrors and evacuation, a nightmare of being reduced to someone else's symbol, a nightmare of body unembodied. No woman in there at all. So Alice had me vexed, compelling in me a rather complicated desire, which our protagonist turned villain turned out to share for his own reasons. I wanted Alice to bleed, and he made good on the craving. I wanted both the symbol of her dead and for the messiness of her living body to be realized, to get real. But unlike David Lynch, in my imagistic lexicon, blood doesn't always mean sin, wrong, revenge, rage splattering into all-consuming chaos. For me, blood is not always bad. The first time my mom bought and ordered a new car from the local Chevy dealer, she ordered it in red. The exterior was red, the interior was red, and when it arrived, she got its rear end detailed with several swooshy lines that culminated in an electrically crimson, shimmering patty. But it's not really accurate to call this a car. Her beast had a 3/4-ton load limit, a V8 engine, and had 2 lower gears for increased traction, 4-wheel drive high and low. Our neck of the woods had an annual snowfall average of over 200 inches, so Mom felt justified in purchasing, when you buy a car this expensive, you invest. In investing in her Chevy Suburban, which was really a truck turned into a family vehicle by way of a ridiculously extended cab. It got 10 miles to the gallon, you had to do a high-rise lunge to get inside of it, and it could safely run over a moose. My brother and I were in middle school and we thought it was awesome. It could fit all of our friends because there were 2 back seats, and unlike our parents' former Suburban, both back seats had heat vents. But there's a life lesson here for those of us in childbearing ages. Because Mom's new truck was fully heated and could fit half the town, she often became the child schlepper. She looked like our humble hamlet's resident child trafficker. She knew how to pack those adolescent bodies in and how to shut them up with Prairie Home Companion or Cats the Musical. It was Mom's first month with her red, and more red Suburban when she picked up a carload of kids. My brother James, his friend John, and me and my two friends Corey Beth and Emily from the movies. At that time, our mining town of 6,000 people was still using its historic theater, the Butler, which had been built during its boom in 1915 as its lone cinema. It had a beautiful proscenium, cracked and curled linoleum floors so old they were sticky, and red velvet seats so loose on their bolts, we essentially used them as gliders. When a showing was over, the cinema attendees gave customers approximately 3 minutes to leave the theater before locking its doors. After one such showing, John, Corey Beth, Emily, and I huddled outside the theater in the entranceway of Woolworths, bouncing up and down in the cold and discussing the finer points of Robin Hood, the Prince of Thieves, as we waited for Mom's fire truck to round a corner and rescue us. When and she did, she had the show tunes already cranked and the heat on full blast. We all toppled into the car, James and John tumbling into the way back seat, and my gal pals and I stretched out in the middle. Mom headed out south to John's home. He lived way out on County Road 476 toward National Mine, and she'd get that 15-minute stretch taken care of first, each way. John was a wayfish, scrappy kid, blonde kid, and at the time, contender for one of my brother's best friends. He was a weird combination of surly and sweet, protective of parents who maybe didn't deserve it, and wildly tender when you least expect it. Once, I made him so mad in 8th grade home economics that he stabbed me in the forearm with a sharp pencil. What could I have said to him? Was it something about his cranky mom or the slowness with which he scratched out cup measurements when doubling a recipe? What I remember is that I thought it was really funny, but then realized by the shape of his eyes when he spun around that it must have been mean. And then suddenly there was a pencil in my arm sticking straight up. When I pulled it out, it only bled a little, the tiniest amount, and the pencil's small head of lead stayed stuck. To this day, it's my only tattoo. Back in her beast, Mom instructed everyone to buckle up and demanded a recount of the movie's highlights. James and I, fighting for summarizer rights, swatted at each other while our friends ducked and pointed the heat vents at their faces. John was pressed up to a heat vent when he started playing with his nose. "Gross, dude," my brother pushed him away. "Don't get that on me." This was all Mom needed to hear. New car, new car, new car. She turned on all the cabin lights and pointed her rear view at the back seat. "What the hell's going on back there?" Corey Beth was the first to identify it. "Oh, John has a blood nose." Mom went into autopilot grammar manager before realizing what Corey had said. "Bloody nose, CB, not blood nose. Bloody what? Bloody? He's bleeding? No, not in this car, he isn't." Mom opened the console, but as the car was so new, she hadn't yet stocked it with all the paper products children and long car trips require. Tissue, anyone got tissue?" She opened the glove compartment to nothing but her registration, which she briefly considered handing back. Anything, people, a hair scrunchie, an extra sock, your report card, I don't care, we'll take it." We rifled through our pockets while John sniffled and smeared his burst blood vessel situation pretty much everywhere. It was hard growing up in the northern cold. Up until that point, all of our homes were heated by wood stoves, which suck air dry of any and all its moisture. My brother and I used to strategically wake each other up from naps by scooting across the carpet in socks and then blasting the shit out of each other with an electric shock. "Wakey, wakey, asshole," was our usual invitation to some kind of ragtag wrestling endeavor. Mom yanked the steering wheel and we rode up on a shoulder snowbank. She threw the truck into park and whipped around to stare each of us down. "Nobody is going to bleed or otherwise express bodily fluids on these seats, got it? This is a new car, new seats, new fabric, new everything. Now," she said as she opened the console back up and began talking to herself. "I've just got to have something in here, anything." She pushed the same 4 items around as John sucked back some of his blood. "Oh," she shouted, "perfect." When she slammed the console shut, we all realized the gravity of the situation before us. There was a collective gasp, and then my brother James let out the first long and low, "Oh, no." In the center of her palm, Mom was holding a perfectly plastic-packed, pillowy pad. A sanitary napkin, delicately folded in three quick machine slaps and sealed into its own special pouch. Mom had found a solution, a savior, and praised her own ingenuity. This will do just fine. Mom handed what she tried to hand, the napkin, to Emily, who swatted it up and away as all 5, just now pubescent children, ages 12 to 13, began to hot potato volley it around the cabin amidst various shrieks. John screeched out a, "No, never mind, I'm okay, it's stopping, and then he cocked his head back all the way, eyes up to the ceiling, and began hawking, gurgling, and generally gulping gelatinous, coagulating snot. "Kids!" Mom tried to holler and jet calm. "It's just cotton, absorbent cotton, wrapped in plastic." "John, don't you dare choke on your own blood. Sterile! It's sterile! John, you are going to vomit, and then I'm going to be really mad. Guys, what's the big deal? It's made for blood, and John is bleeding." The pad bounced back toward the front seat, and Mom snatched it as best she could, and decided that we'd all understand its non-threatening utility if she just unwrapped it. "Mom," I reached forward, grabbing her forearm, and tried to reason with her while attempting to shake it loose. "Do not do this!" "Molly," she wriggled free of my clammy grip, "stop being such a prude. I'm just showing you that it's no big deal, that it's all very normal and it's very clean." She then began unfolding the napkin as though providing a demonstration. "Look, guys, normal," she said. "John, just keep the plastic liner on so it doesn't adhere to your skin, okay?" "Thanks, Miss John gagged out. Just let me out. I can walk the rest of the way." My mom has always had a special knack for comforting. "John, you're bleeding, and you're like 80 pounds. Think of the coyotes. Think of the wolves. You are not walking home. Just cup this around your nose like so." Mom pulled the pad fully open and pressed it to her face as though she was settling in for a cozy nap. "And we can get this show on the road." "Oh my God!" James yelled out from the third seat, pointing at Mom's show and tell. "It has wings!" The Syngina is exactly what it sounds like. The #1 official brand of synthetic vagina. For testing tampons, that is. When testing tampons to meet the European Union's standards for safety and absorbency, manufacturers often use what's called the Syngina method. The Syngina pumps out a solution of distilled water, sodium chloride, and a coloring agent called acid fusion. F, D, and C red dye number 40 may also be involved. Are you asking yourself why, in a laboratory environment, researchers who are using a Syngina, which is really just a trademarked plastic tube, have to dye their sterile solution pink for this simulation? Perhaps it's because the Syngina's creators would like to think that during its manufactured menses, the Syngina bleeds pink. Maybe it's to remind the researchers of the seriousness of their tasks. Blood, people. We are talking about protecting the world and its panties from blood. But during her entire menses cycle, a typical woman usually bleeds on average 35 milliliters. Whoa, Becky, look at that gusher. But actually not. 35 milliliters is just over 1 fluid ounce. That means in the course of an average gal's entire period, in those 3 to 7 days, her uterus doesn't even churn out enough blood to fill a shot glass. It might feel like it's more than a shot glass, but on average it's really not. The Syngina, however, can unleash 50 milliliters, more than a shot glass, of its stuff every hour. Cheers, Syngina, cheers. And the Syngina's like, drink up, motherfuckers, drink up. The principle of the Syngina, say its makers, is to simulate a vaginal environment in the laboratory. So naturally, for this simulation, researchers insert a condom into the Syngina in order to test tampons inside of the condom, which is inside of the Syngina. I don't know about you, but when I'm really ragging and I just want that extra level of natural vaginal environment protection, I go ahead and I poke a hole in a condom, insert that condom into my vagina, and then put a tampon in it. I know the whole thing takes like half an hour, but it makes me feel more natural, you know, like I'm treating my vagina to the best vaginal environment. Because what is a vagina really without a condom, or the condom's most common referent? Though the principle of this procedure is not to simulate vaginal intercourse, it's interesting that the lab techs somehow determine the vagina only functions well with unlubricated condoms. Since they only change the condom after every 10th test, or if a condom leaks, or if it's the start of a new day in the lab, and since the vagina's fluid is purified water combined with sodium chloride, the condom use isn't about inserting either a clean or a dry lab space into the mechanical canal. It's as if, with their lab tests, the researchers are unconsciously importing old fears about insertive menstrual devices, that to insert tampons, sea sponges, rolled newspapers, grasses, mosses, compressed cotton, miniature reusable cups of all kinds into one's vagina is to simulate penetrative sex, is, in other words, to have sex with yourself. I don't know about you, but when I say to a friend, oh, give me a sec, I just have to go change my tampon, which I say all the time. What I'm really saying is, hey, give me a second while I go fuck myself in the Harry Potter stall. What this really exposes is just how dull misogynist fantasies of female masturbation are, as well as how removed, historically, penetrative sex and pleasure have been for women. There's nothing strange nor mysterious about menstruation, the 10-minute 1946 Disney film, The Story of Menstruation, intones. All life is built on cycles, and the menstrual cycle is one normal and natural part of nature's plan for passing on the gift of life. The film was funded by Kotex Products, and its narrator's voice would be heard by generations of 9 to 16-year-old public school girls. After all, no matter how you feel, the feminine but firm voice instructs, you have to live with people, and you have to live with yourself too. And once you stop feeling sorry for yourself and take those days in your stride, you'll find it's easier to keep smiling and even-tempered. Thanks.